everyone, my name's Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today I want to talk to you about Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. Okay, can I just start by saying, look at this beautiful cover. Look at the cover art on this book. It is unbelievable. Whoever designed it did such a great job because look at the colors. It helps me just place the way that this book is supposed to look in my head just by looking at the cover. And I love when books do that. When there's no indication of what I'm supposed to be seeing, it's really hard to read. Or I have to come up with it on my own, and sometimes that's hard. But with this book, it was so fitting because this book was unlike anything I've really ever read before. So I actually participate in a book club with a bunch of girls. Raybearer was one that people had heard good things about, but not a lot of us had read. And so we decided to pick it up and read it together. And I'm so glad we did because, like I said, it was something I've never read before. This was so unique and so different. And it was just this story that had such imaginative pieces and elements to it. And when I had somebody ask me to describe what the story was about, what I was able to tell them was that it's a fantasy YA series. There's going to be at least a book 2 that we've seen so far. And it is based off of African folklore and cultural stories, but with fantasy elements woven in them. So if you see the fairies and things that are on the back play a big role, there's magic in the stories, and it just is this entire new world that you're building in this fantasy series. When I first started reading it, it was a little difficult for me to wrap my head around. I will be the first person to say that. The style of writing, whenever I start new fantasy series and the style of the author's writing is unique, I have to get used to it. It takes me some time and I tend to read it a lot more slowly because I'm trying to build that world in my head and understand what I'm reading. And this one was like that. So it took me a little bit to get into it. It was slow at first, but once I hit a certain point, I pretty much flew through the rest of the book. Once you have the idea of what's going on in your head, it builds and builds and builds, and you just want to find out what happens. And I tried to actually explain the storyline to my husband, and I realized really quickly how intricate and detailed the storyline actually is, and it's so hard to explain. The other thing that's always really hard for me in any fantasy series is names that I have trouble pronouncing, and just because of that, it's hard to explain what's happening in the story, but also something that I had to read. I tried to listen to this one on audio and I did not do well with it because I'm more of a visual learner. And so seeing the names that I had difficulty pronouncing in my head was how I needed to piece together how the story was going. Basically, the story is about this girl named Tarisai, and we meet her at a very young age and we follow her throughout her early young adult life. But she's met in the very beginning of the book with this task that she's given by the lady. And we don't really know who the lady is. We just know the lady is important. And the lady tells her that she is going to be part of Deo, who is the emperor's son, his new court that kind of controls and runs the land. And once she becomes part of that court, her job is to kill Deo. So that's kind of where the story starts, and it just takes off and explodes from there because she doesn't want to kill anybody, but now she's got this curse placed on her that this is all she has to do. But she grows up with these people because they meet when they're young, and there's relationships that are formed with other members of the council and other sort of societal pieces that take place and that Tarisai is trying to battle against and fix to create a more equal world. And it's just really, really good. It's so good. And I haven't seen very many people that have read it. And so I wanted to get on here and talk about it because it was a fantasy that I was not expecting at all. Like I said, it was nothing like I've read before. The storyline, the plot, the magic that's involved in it. When I typically read about fairies, like it's not the fairies that were in this world. So it was something so new and fresh, and I definitely recommend it if you like YA fantasy. Thanks for chatting today. Don't forget to click like and subscribe below and click on the little bell if you want to be notified when I post videos. If you want to chat on Instagram, my name is The Fun Size Reader, on Facebook at The Fun Size Reader, and on Twitter at Fun Size Reader. See you next time.